Greetings, good people, and welcome to Wafu TV. Here we facilitate the understanding of elementary mathematics and we pacify the way into studying science and technology. Last time we worked on Roman and Arabic numerals, and we equally announced that this time around we'll be working on square numbers and square roots. That is the topic of our lesson today. And what do we intend to meet at the end of our lesson today? The first is that we should be able to identify square numbers. Not all numbers are square numbers, so we should be able to sort square numbers. The second objective is to find square roots of numbers and fractions. So we do not only have square roots of whole numbers, we can equally have square roots of fractions. And we do this using prime factor method or the division method. Pay close attention and make sure by the end of our lesson today, you are able to do this. Without waste of time, what are square numbers and what are square roots? Take note that a square number is simply a result of a smaller number, which is called a square root, multiplied by itself. We are going to do that practically. And what is a square root? A square root is simply a number that is multiplied by itself to give a larger number. So that is what we are going to write down. And after that, we are going straight into our examples for better understanding. A square root is a number when multiplied by itself gives a larger number. All numbers are square roots, e.g. 4 times 4 or 4 and a small 2, which means 4 squared. So this is the basic understanding of what we call square roots. Now, when we say all numbers are square roots, we do not mean decimals and the rest of it, but we are simply referring to whole numbers here for now. Let's look at the second aspect, which is a square number. Look at this second aspect. A square number is the result when a smaller number, which is a square root, is multiplied by itself. For example, 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 3 times 3 here is what we call the square root. That's a smaller number multiplied by itself here. And the product or the answer that we have here is the square number. So these are the two concepts we are talking about, which are very important. A square root, smaller number when multiplied by itself gives a larger one. And the square number is the result, that answer that you've had when you multiply the smaller number by itself. With this in mind, how do we know we are asked to calculate the square root? There is a sign that denotes square root. This is the sign for square root. Sometimes you may find it without this small 2, but this sign stands for square root. We can now go into some examples to understand better how to solve or to calculate the square root of a given number. Example 1 says, what is the square root of 64? And here in our first example, we're going to be using the prime factor method to calculate the square root. 64, and we bring out our table, starting with the least prime number that can divide 64. And the least is 2. 2 divides 64 32 times. The next is 2. 2 divides 32 16 times. The next is 2. 2 divides 16 8 times. The next is 2. 2 divides 8 4 times. The next in that order is 2. 2 divides 4 2 times. Lastly, we have 2, and 2 divides itself 1 time. Once you arrive at 1, you can stop there. What do we do next? We pair these prime factors up and pick 1 from each pair and then find the product. Therefore, our answer will be 2 times 2 times 2. This 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is equal to 8. This is how you can use the prime factor method to calculate the square root of 64 or any other number. Let's go to the second example. What does this mean? It simply means what is the square root of 16 all over 25? What do we do in this question? The first thing is to find the square root of 16 separately. 16, we use 2. 2 divides 16, 8. Next is 2 divides 8, 4. Next is 2 divides 4, 2. Next is 2 divides 2, 1. And we pair this up. Take 1 from each, 2 from here, 2 from here. And our answer will be equal to 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. Take note. The second is the denominator, which is 25. We take 25, the smallest prime factor, prime number that can divide 25. 2 cannot, 3 cannot, so the next is 5. 5 divide 25, 5 times. The next is 5. 5 divide itself 1 time. And we end at this level and pair this up. We take 1 out of the pair. And our answer here will be 5. Therefore, answer is equal to, for 16, the answer is 4 all over. For 25, the answer is 5. So this is how to find the square root of a fraction. 16 all over 25 for the square root will be equal to 4 all over 5. This said, we are going to look at something a little bit more interesting. And how can we calculate the square root of a bigger number, larger numbers? Because they may not necessarily give you smaller number as such. If it's a large number, are you going to use a full page prime factors to factorize the number? No, there is an easy and a simple method, the division method, that we are going to look at in our next example. What is the square root of 256? I'll call on you at this level to pay close attention, because at this level there is a little bit of technique, but it's very easy to understand if you are attentive. So what do we do as far as this is concerned? We can rewrite it out, 256. The first step is count from right to left, 2 numbers, and separate. 1, 2. Separate with a comma. The next step is which number, when multiplied by itself, gives you an answer that is equal to 2 or less than 2. Here we have 1. You put 1 up and equally beside here. 1 times 1 is going to give 1. You write 1 below these 2. You roll a line across and subtract. 2 take away 1 will give 1. You bring down these 2 numbers. At the same time, you bring 56 down and it gives you 156. The next question to ask yourself, which number, when multiplied by itself, the answer ends with 6? Before you do that, you double this number. Here is 1. If you double it, means you multiply by 2, you are going to have 2. So that number you multiply by itself will give you an answer that ends with 6 is 6, because 6 times 6 will give 36. So you write 6 above and 6 beside these 2. This gives you 26. 6 times 26, you write 156 below here. And you find the difference, which is 0. Our answer will be equal to 16. Let me assume that you did not understand this. Let's look at another example and see how it happens. Find square root of 1024. If you look at 1024 is a large number, and if you want to use prime factor method, it's going to take a whole page, and that will also take time. We can use the division method to solve this. First, you write it out in your square root sign. That is 1024. You count 2 numbers from right to left and separate with a comma. 1, 2. You separate with a small comma here. Next question, you ask yourself, which number, when multiplied by itself, can give an answer equal to 10 or close to 10? And the number we have is 3. You put 3 above and 3 beside. 3 times 3 will give 9. If you find the difference, 10 take away 9 is 1. You bring down 24 at the same time. You ask yourself, which number when multiplied by itself has an answer that ends with 4? And the answer we have is 2. So you're going to put 2 here. When you come this way, you double this 3 to 6, and you write this 2 equally beside here. This becomes 62, and 2 times 62 will give us 124. If you subtract, the answer is 0, and our answer will be equal to 32. To prove yourself right, whenever you have your square root, multiply the square root by itself, and if it gives you the square number that you are asked to calculate its square root, then your answer is right. So that is that as far as the division method is concerned, and equally the prime factor method is concerned. This is what we had for you today, and we believed you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and comment so that we can improve on our service. See you next time, and in our next lesson we are going to be talking about cube root. Don't miss it. Ciao.